Hey everyone, welcome to the Mom Series, The Misunderstanding of Multiplicity. My name is Maria, and it is really cold. Right now, I'm in Upper Western New York, and it is 22 degrees, but the real feel is like 11. I liked it better when we didn't know what the real feel was. Um, Remember the days when you didn't even know what the weather was gonna do? Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, there, and now my lighting is gonna go down. It's Happy Daylight Savings Time, spring forward. Okay, so I'm just gonna wear my hat because it's actually really cold in here and my hair is driving me crazy and I think I'm just gonna cut it because I don't know, you guys, I get to a point where I'll show it to you. I get to a point where I'm like, I just washed it. When I first wash it, I can't do anything with it. It's just crazy hair. And I'm to that point where like it's graying and it's going to look good in about 2 days. But when I first wash it, I think it's the conditioner in it. I don't know, but I also know that when my thyroid gets a little too hyperthyroid or goes the other way, I get what I call the thyroid hair, the mushy like doll hair. Yeah, you can always tell with your nails because your hair and your nails and your eyebrows. Your nails will start to get really crooked on the sides, and you'll get a lot of vertical ridges, really strong vertical ridges. And also at the tip of your nails, it'll almost be like they'll just flip up or split down the middle and turn to powdery dust. So that could either be, it's just a dysregulated thyroid. It could be hyperthyroid or hypo. It could be too low of a thyroid, too high of a thyroid. Could be somewhere in the middle, fluctuating. And your third outer portion of your eyebrow, usually the left, you'll notice first, will just disappear. And as we get older, our eyebrows do thin out in that outer corner, but you'll notice with thyroid conditions, usually, especially if you have like a goiter or nodules, the area that's the most swollen, you will keep your hair the longest, will say the most curved. And where you don't have anything going on, you will start to thin out through there, or it'll just go missing. So if you're really having trouble losing weight, you can't budge past a plateau, and you're just gaining and you've been dieting and exercising and everything, have your thyroid checked. And if you're also just losing a ton of weight and you've got a ravenous appetite, and you're sweating all the time, get your thyroid checked. So temperature, nails, hair, um, thirst, hunger, all of that is thyroid, and so is mood. If you find yourself getting anxious all the time and really jumpy, angry, agitated, it could be hyperthyroidism. If you're having trouble sleeping at night, you're getting a racing heart, feeling like you're having panic attacks, that could be hyperthyroid. If you're feeling depressed, like you have no energy, like you're just stuck in your head and you're stuck in the mud and you're cold and you're tired and all you want to do is sleep, that could be hypothyroidism. The other thing is if your skin on your legs gets very shiny, almost like oily, slick, and you didn't put anything on you, that could be hyperthyroidism. And dry, flaky skin could be hypothyroidism. So these are all things you really want to get checked. And today I want to talk a little bit about thyroid, and then I want to talk about multiple personality dissociative identity disorder. Okay, so very quickly, I have these nodules. They're called multinodular toxic growths. I have had them at varying degrees since 2001 is when they began. Um, Although looking back at child pictures now, I can see that I actually had a goiter when I was 10 years old. In a school picture, I can see it. So I think, I just think you can say those things later when you know what you're looking for. But for years, from 2001 to 2006, I was going to the head and neck oncology department at Strong, dealing with a head and neck surgeon who did biopsies. And then another very popular endocrinologist in Rochester that did biopsies. And it was always benign, um, mixed colloid, solid, some semi-solid, some fluid, some completely solid tissue. And it was always called mixed colloid tissue. And then a very interesting tissue that was kind of like an embryonic tissue. I can't remember the name of it now. I think it was called struma. It's when there's actually like, it's all I can think of is My Big Fat Greek Wedding, where the aunt is telling uh, Tula's new in-laws about the harmonies and how they found teeth and hair in her lump in her throat. That is what it is. It's like, it's when you start off to be a twin and you end up with this struma ovari tissue. It's like an embryonic tissue. And so I had a lot of that going on. Um, don't know. Um, and I only know what my mother told me, and I was premature, and she felt like her pregnancy with me was really crazy and that there was more than one. She would always say that I was a twin, and that my twin died. She would always say I was a mirror twin and that they took the twin away before she could see my twin. She also would say that she went into labor because she fell down the stairs and went into early labor. I've heard so many different stories of my birth that I really don't know what to believe. I listened to my mom's mom, and my dad's mom over the years, and aunts and everything. And um, I've just settled on I was born early, so I was premature. So I also have what's called a malrotated intestine. What that means is everything that should be on my right side is on my left side. My entire right side of my intestine is on my left side. So I got a whole lot going on my left side, including in the past couple of years, my appendix, which should be on your right side, it was on my right side, but floated on over to my left quadrant. It's just kind of like, and they call that situs inversus. Also, um, I have over 100 spleens, which is called polysplenia, and a discontinuation of an IVC, which is something important that has to do with returning the blood to your heart and your kidneys. So it is a congenital birth thing, and it can happen mostly with preemies. Um, Most times it's corrected when babies are young because they have terrible colic and they have terrible constipation and they have terrible pelvic pain and pain through their years that doesn't make sense, and they're usually um, given a operation called a LADS operation. Um, if you make it to being an adult without getting something that's called valvulus obstruction and dying, um, it could be a little too late to do the LADS surgery because you've medically compensated, there's a lot of scar tissue, and there's a lot more involved. So it's best to take care of it when a child is small. Along with that, I have severe scoliosis of my thoracic area. So I've lost about 2 inches, and I am uneven. My right leg is much longer than my left leg. Now it's my left shoulder is up here, my right is down here, and everything that was on my right side twisted mid-thoracic, like right in my back. That created a hump kind of thing going on there, which I'm carrying around, and it's a good extra 5 to 7 pounds. And that changes the way your clothes fit. It changes everything. You just are wider in the everything twists up. So your hips higher on one side, lower on the other. You end up with drop foot, and your toes do this. So now I use a walking boot and an even up shoe, and I've got some orthopedic things that I'm getting for that. So I wanted to talk about all of this together because you can be in the medical system, and if you have had a mental health diagnosis like DID, MPD, you can be complaining of many various different things, and that will be attributed to your disorder. And that is actually called medical shadowing, where you have definite things going on in your body. You have definite things happening. You have definite things twisting that don't make sense. And if you're not careful, a therapist will tell you, oh, that's just an alter experiencing the body differently and having different physical manifestations. Like it's just another alter ego aspect state of yourself in a different state, experiencing all that pain and crookedness and clumsiness. It's just another alter ego state that's having more trouble swallowing today, and compression and pain and hoarseness. It's just another alter ego that can't fit into the pants on one side and the bra strap is falling down on the other side. It's not you. It's part of your DID or DID or MPD. That's not true. So what I wanted to really just say is for those of us that have had large groups, I mean, let's just say I have been to doctors and was told I didn't have arthritis. I have arthritis. I have lots of arthritis. I have been told these were no big deal, and oncologists have been like, are you crazy? You need to get them taken out. This is going to become fixed on your trachea, and it is now. I have been to doctors that have told me I had congenital heart problems from the twist in my stomach, and I would always have congestive heart failure. And then other doctors had said, nah, it's just a term. Please listen to your body. Your body is intelligent, no matter what quirks it came with. Do not blame your physical things. Like I was actually told by a doctor once that it was more noticeable, the arthritis in my fingers, when an older alter aspect was out. Yeah. How about 10 years ago, I had cataracts in my eyes that were ripe. But another doctor said, I see that you have DID. Yes. An ophthalmologist. I said, because sometimes I can see they're ripe and sometimes they don't look ripe. So we want to wait, but not too long. 10 years later, when I go to the eye doctor, they're ripe and then they're not ripe. I have not been able to get new glasses in 10 years because I do have cataracts that are ripe. Okay? This goes for allergies, it goes for everything. Weight gain, weight loss, swelling. I am very salt sensitive, but I have been told it's fine for me to eat salt. It's just another alter ego aspect that bloats. Um, yeah, so please be careful with that. I'll be right back. Sorry, I had to turn off my soup before it boiled over. Okay, so what I wanted to say is there's this huge fascination with people with DID MPD. Um, and it can get to a point where it's really crazy and it's actually detrimental to your health. So don't partake in it. I remember really, really believing when I first got these nodules that they only swelled on certain days when certain aspects of myself were more present and out. That just wasn't true. But it only took at that point a couple of doctors to say, you know, some days I see you and you're totally no swelling, no compression, no nothing. And other days they're really blown up and it's so obvious. And I really didn't know what to do with that information other than to say, yeah. And that left me very vulnerable. It left me to make decisions based on second guessing my own self and my own sanity and saying, well, maybe when, let's say a name, Rosie's out, it's more obvious to see these. But when Astrid's out, they're totally gone. It only takes a couple of your medical doctors to know that you have DID on your list to start looking at real medical things going on with you and say, it's weird because it comes and goes. Well, the truth is, nodules on your thyroid swell and go down all the time. That's what they do. They fluctuate. They fluctuate with your blood pressure, your cortisol, the amount of hormone you get or don't get. So if you're on medication or if you're eating iodine or if you're eating fish or they swell for a number of reasons and then they just grow. And there comes a point when they grow to be too much. And I remember my endocrine oncologist about 3 years ago, I had really swollen up and could never figure out why because I was on the medication I was diagnosed to be on. And I would increase the medication to what they said, and it would make no difference with the swelling. It would make a difference with the numbers, with the blood test. Like my TSH would be where it should be, T4 would be where it should be. But it really had nothing to do with whether these swelled or not. And I remember the oncologist surgeon saying, you really need to get these out because you're going to have an emergency situation where you're going to have compression issues. So we'll kind of like I remember looking at him saying, there's nothing wrong with my thyroid because and he was just shocked. He was like, there's something wrong with your thyroid. I was like, no, there's nothing wrong with my thyroid because another doctor that was doing the thyroid uptake test on me had explained it's not really your thyroid that's the problem. It's your hypothalamus and your pituitary gland that's not communicating with your spine. And the same doctor that was telling me there's a problem with your thyroid, we need to really take it out. And I remember when I first met him, like 4 years previous or 5 years previous, he had just looked at my blood work and said, I already know you're hyperthyroid. I want you to take this prescription, go home and fill it. And he sent me for a bunch of blood work. And it was Tapazole. He wanted me to start on Tapazole. And he said I could just look at your blood work and see that you're hyperthyroid. He said I can look at your ultrasounds and everything and see your biopsies and everything. He said, you're hyperthyroid, take this. Okay. And we left it at, and he said, when you reach euthyroid, which is a normal thyroid, we will go ahead and biopsy those again because you never want to biopsy thyroid nodules when you're hyperthyroid because what a lot of people won't tell you, but I was really glad this surgeon told me, is that the pathology will always come back false negative or false positive. So you might end up operating on somebody and then actually giving them radiation or chemotherapy and they have false positive nodules. So they're not malignant, but they come back as malignant. So, and then he explained to me that any growth, not just these, any growth, like say you have a growth in your breast or in your ovary, any of your reproductive organs, your breast, ovary, uterus, all that for women. If you're hyperthyroid or you have Hashimoto's and you're fluctuating between the two, or your thyroid's just not regulating and you're going hyperthyroid, hypo. If you have a pathology, needle aspiration or core biopsy, while you're hyperthyroid, it can come back false negative or false positive. It negates. So they never do biopsies on any growths in the reproductive area or the nodules around that unless you're euthyroid. You're within normal limits. That was a game changer for me. That blew my mind because I knew so many women that had their thyroid taken out and they didn't need to have it taken out. But what he did say is, I won't lie to you, he said you're going to have compression issues because you've got one hovering around your trach and we don't want it to get fixated. Well, that is what's happened over the past 3 years is now I have one here, but this one here is really, it's I'm hungry all the time and I can't get my food past here without it twisting. And then not only am I twisting in my back, so that's putting pressure on the esophagus, but by the time I get to here, I'm totally twisting. And then that kinks up. So you gotta have a smooth tube all the way down. So it's all a matter of what we put in our body and what we get out of our body. So I am embarking on a fast for the latter part of March. And I'm going to come out here and let you know how I do with it. It's the only time I get healthy is to go on a fast. And what I want to talk about during this fasting time, I'll be knitting and crocheting, is what our healthy weight is what we know our body is. And it's really important for us not to get, I'll just quickly share a story. My normal weight is 110. Even when I was full-term pregnant with both my kids, I never was more than 125. When I got sick in the 1990s, I crept up to like 132, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that was big for me. I was 5'1.5". All I ever was, 5'1.5". Um, about 2007, I started drastically losing weight, but I had consciously said to God and myself, I want to lose weight. So I was moving more. I was eating less, but I wasn't eating that much less. It was a conscious decision to move more, to do more, and to not eat all my food at once, to be really mindful about what I was eating. And weight just started falling off of me. But so much weight came off that my doctors thought maybe I had a malignancy, and that started all the biopsies again and scans and everything else. But I didn't. So I know so far. So, um, but I was in my good fighting healthy weight at 106 to 110. When I hit 106, there were people in my family that were used to being me being fat. There were people that were very happy for me. But there were friends and a few cousins that were like, oh, that's too thin. Now you're just too thin. And I realized at that point that I was thinner than them. And this is very much a woman thing. They would say things like, yeah, but when you get older, you shouldn't be that thin. And I remember asking one of my aunts, why are those people saying I'm too thin? It took me forever to get 83 pounds off of. I mean, I was 183 pounds. Now all of a sudden I was 106, and I felt good, and I looked good, and I was happy. And even though I'm small framed and my face did get a little bony, um, the rest of me looked fine. I still had a lot of meat left on me. Um, I definitely had a lot of loose skin I was trying to tone up. So I remember two things happened. A man that I very much was in love with on and off, and he was in love with me on and off for many years from 1998, who passed away a few years ago. And this is kind of the anniversary of that time. He had met me when I was overweight, and now re-meeting me like around 2009, 10, he was totally um, uncomfortable with me being thin. Like he felt like he lost his, I don't know. It was almost like he needed me to be big and frumpy. And if I was stylish and had a nice figure, it it was a threat to him. And so we started to part ways. Um, and I noticed that the most health conscious, diet conscious, exercise conscious cousin, skin conscious, and everything else in my life was the first person to say, "Yeah, but you're too thin, Maria. That's too thin." And I thought, have you lost your mind? And I remember driving home and asking one of my aunts and saying, "No, you're fine just the way you are for your shape and your frame. You're fine. You're not too thin. Never mind that." Um, I think she saw it for what it was, which was a comparison, competition, jealousy right away. And every time I went anywhere with those cousins, the really thin cousins that had always been thin would kind of like pike up, like, "Oh, Maria lost more weight," or "right by me," or I remember when I gained 5 pounds, um, a cousin walking by me and saying, "You gained weight, right?" I'd be like, um, okay, I was 103 pounds, now I gained 5 pounds, and if it's that noticeable, and I was kind of like, well, yeah, but I'm shorter now, so you can see the weight because I had lost height from the scoliosis. And um, I just remember her kind of announcing, like, Maria gained weight again. And I thought, who the hell does that? One, and why do they think they could do that to me and get away with it? And I really was pissed. So today is my day to say, I'm still pissed. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you think you could walk by a person and say, "You're too thin. Hey, you're too thin. Oh, yeah, but you're too thin. When you get older, you should be," right? And now you're too fat. So just pay attention to your body. Don't pay attention to people. When you know you want to lose weight, just go for it. If you want to gain some weight because you feel better, thicker, or what a good friend of mine, hi Vicky, calls fat fit or thick fit, go for, be your healthy self. And by all means, if there's stuff going on in your body, like nodules, growths, twists, oh, I don't know, big old spots that are changing on your face that have been there forever, that are getting worse, that are getting jagged borders and dark spots in them, and eyebrows that are disappearing from here and then coming back the next week, like, oh, there you are again. And especially what I want to say to women is trust your gut. If you're not eliminating properly, if you're eliminating too much, if you're not having any feeling before you start to eliminate. Get to a doctor. A good friend of mine just recently was diagnosed with colon cancer, and it was very much a surprise. And I'm very glad that she's okay, Susan, that you're okay, and that you had yourself checked. And March is colon awareness month, so if you've got any kind of bowel problems, don't be embarrassed. I know it can be really hard for people that have been through any kind of background of um, body issues, or not being able to control their own body, or having somebody betray their body or offend them in any kind of way, abusive in any way, harm them. It can be very hard to go to a doctor. It can be very hard to have procedures done. It can be very, very difficult to be in a feeling of not being in control of your body and things being done to you. But there are procedures that need to be done, tests that need to be done. And please, if you are a survivor of abuse, sexual abuse, or being violated in any way, whether you were a child or whether you were an adult, please do not shy away from important procedures that need to be done, and do not let specialists that your primary care doctor sends you to start looking at your DID and saying, well, maybe it's an alter ego that has these. Because I just saw you 6 months ago and you didn't have all this going on and your numbers are the same. Don't go there, you guys. Don't, okay? So take care of your body. Take care. Don't let it be about DID or MPD. It really doesn't change these things. It really doesn't. It might change. It might, but I doubt it. I doubt it. Not even going there. Okay? Have a nice week. Bye.